We are live with Governor Doug Ducey, who just late this afternoon sent out a tweet that sent the newsroom scrambling and everyone saying, breaking news, we have a deal. You've done this 20% by 2020. And you say it's official, we have a deal. The big question tonight is, who's the we? Because the Arizona Educators Association saying they haven't heard from you. They've seen the tweet, but they haven't actually talked with you.
Well, we've been working with the people that can actually make these pay increases happen.
Okay.
So over the course of the last several weeks, we've had a lot of meetings with teachers and superintendents and principals and even kids inside the schools. And what we're happy to be able to announce today is that we do have a deal for a 20% pay increase by the year 2020. That's what we proposed on April 12th. But we heard a lot of feedback about teachers, or from teachers, that it wasn't just about teachers, it was about other individuals inside the school. So I think it's important that people also understand that there will be $100 million there for support staff, and the commitment of that rising to $371 million over the next 5 years. So with this plan, we'll be increasing per pupil spending. Our teachers do a great job in schools. This pay raise has been overdue. They have earned it, and it's deserved. And now we'll work with the legislature through the weekend, introduce the budget on Monday, and sign this into law as soon as they're done.
So coming up on Monday, what are you hearing from House and Senate leadership? Do they have the votes to pass this on Monday?
This is how we were able to announce this agreement. We had to know that with legislative leadership, we had their commitment so we could have the votes. I think this is an idea that should be unanimous, Republican and Democrat. I don't think that teachers or K-12 education or public school kids are a partisan issue, but we're going to go through the process, and we know that we have the votes for the teacher pay increase, the support staff, and the per pupil spending.
Okay, one of the sticking points that Red Fred organizers were critical of the plan when you announced it 2 weeks ago is they said this is based on economic projections. Our economy has been great. It has been improving. What if things turn south?
These dollars will be permanent, in the base, and inflated. So we are making this commitment to our teachers. Our economy is growing. The CBO shows a $1.5 billion surplus over the next 5 years. That's an extra $300 million a year. The FAC, that's the Finance Advisory Committee, shows $243 million additional dollars in this year. So what superintendent said to me was, you need to show our teachers a plan, not just a budget for this year, but what's going to happen going forward. So the 20% pay raise by 2020 is the commitment that I, as governor, with this legislature, are making to them.
One of their other demands was no new tax cuts until per student funding reaches our national average. So with the extra funding, the extra $100 million, taking us to that $371 million that you talked about, will that take our per pupil funding up to the national average?
That's going to take our per pupil funding up. We're going to have to crunch the numbers to see where it gets, because these numbers are moving, especially as other states are investing in education as well. But we also want to make sure that we address our teacher pay and the support staff inside these schools. We want Arizona to continue to be a great place to live, work, and scale a business, keep these businesses relocating here. So I'm excited that we're going to be able to do both. But it's been 3 really tough years. You know, we had to dig out of a $1 billion budget deficit in the year 2015. And today we have these excess surplus dollars. The issue is teacher pay, and we're going to commit those dollars in law in the budget to our teachers.
So that might be one of the remaining sticking points, because it looks like you hit quite a few of the other demands that the teachers were asking for. But a lot of people, a lot of parents, students, and educators are asking, why did it take a strike to get to this deal that we're working on today?
It didn't take a strike. We actually presented this on April 12th. I do think the folks coming down to the state capitol, making their voices heard, it helped me with other people that I needed to get a budget passed. That's why we're going to be able to introduce this on Monday and pass it as soon as possible thereafter.
A lot of parents right now, I'm sure, are watching, very curious, because they've had to scramble to figure out about childcare, and that's been an added stress. We've talked about seniors who are trying to study for their AP exam, so everyone is wondering, when will this end? And ultimately, that that comes down to those Red for Ed organizers who have said that they haven't signed off on this deal yet. So why, a lot of people are asking, why haven't you met with them specifically? You've met with teachers, but why not the Red for Ed organizers of the AEA?
Well, what we wanted to do is really take this pressure off the parents. We know when people are working, how many days can they take their child to work? Do they have to find daycare? A lot of these kids eat breakfast and lunch inside the schools. So this is more than just about one or two organizers. This is about the 50,000 public school teachers inside of our system. The way that we address this is working with our legislature to benefit them with a pay raise. This is what we've been able to deliver.
So if we go to a vote come Monday, and by the end of the day, that is your hope that both House and Senate are going to...
It typically takes several days. The budget will be introduced on Monday. We're going to be working on all the information that's put into law as the budget's passed. But the commitment's been made with legislative leadership and the executive branch. So it's going to take a few days, but this is the commitment. There will be nothing less.
AEA and Red for Ed organizers have said the devil's in the details. You've heard this before. So if it does take several days, and we understand that that's one segment of a massive budget, so it does have to figure out, is something missing here or what line item, and take a very close look at those line items. Will you meet with them before those several days so we don't extend this walkout?
We've been very specific in what the details will be for K-12 education and our teachers. That's why we were working so late through the night last night and all day today. So our teachers will understand what they are, and I think people would say when you get a 20% pay raise, if someone continues to strike, how do you make sense of that to parents and students? And the teachers I've heard from say they need to know that commitment, know that support staff is included, and this is going to increase per pupil spending. That's what we're delivering on.
Is the money coming from any place different than your plan from the 12th?
The money is coming from the growth inside the state. 200,000 people have moved here, 160,000 new private sector jobs in the last 3 years. But we've also made efficiencies inside our state government, and I've taken some of the priorities that we talked about in our State of the State and put them aside so that we could answer this issue not only for this year, but for the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Governor
you, Nicole.
Doug Ducey, saying tonight that we have a deal, and of course we're waiting to hear from Red for Ed organizers and the AEA and teachers to see if they will sign off on that deal and put an end to this statewide teacher walkout day 2. And a lot of parents still wondering what comes on Monday. Governor, thank you for your time today.
Appreciate it.
And we'll be right back. We'll take a quick break.